Hello there guys, you're listening to Ebird Online and I'm back with another review. And yes, today finally, the Ebird steps onto new territory. It's going to be baby steps to start off with, but here's my very first review to Love After Lockup. And as you guys know, loads of people have requested that I review this show, and I feel in some ways this is fate. Because when I was sick last week, I was scrolling around looking for something new to watch, and quite fortuitously, it was episode 1 of the new season of Love After Lockup. Coincidence? I think not. So in this video, we're going to introduce all the new couples, and we're going to assess if we think the relationship's going to be a boom or a bust. Very quickly, if you haven't done so previously, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. Do your girl a favour and smash the like button. So yeah, let's get into it. Without further ado, I give you Love After Lockup. Okay, so our first couple are Deonte and Nicole. And we first catch up with Deonte. He's looking for wine in a wine shop. He wants red, white and rosé, or pink as he calls it, because he wants to celebrate with Nicole when she gets out of prison tomorrow. And Deonte isn't happy that he's still single. He thought he'd be married by 28 at the latest. He tells us he's a nice guy. He says he's nice looking. I'll be the arbiter of that. He says he's very humble. You just said you were nice looking. I'll let it go. And then he tells us he's got his own place, his own car, a good job. He doesn't know what's gone wrong. You might want to work on your personality. A few jokes wouldn't go amiss. And just as Deonte's about to purchase the wine, guess who calls? It's girlfriend Nicole. Guys, here's Nicole. He says she's got a nice personality, a nice body. She's a really sweet girl. He can't stand greedy or materialistic girls. And then Nicole asks him, have you got my money? He said, yeah, you know I got your money. I guess at least she's not shallow then. Then Deonte continues to tell us that Nicole, who's 23, has been in prison for 4 years for robbery. And he said, look at her. Just look. She's not the kind of girl that you can imagine getting put away for robbery, but looks can be deceiving. Yes, Deonte, looks can be deceiving, but not in this case. What I'm looking at is exactly what I've got. A thief, a robber, and a confidence trickster with no morals. That's my early take. Let's see if I'm right, shall we? Guys, Deonte's getting scammed. Deonte's getting scammed. To say this girl looks like a tricky customer is a massive understatement. And this is further confirmed when we get back to Deonte's house. He's literally got a treasure trove of gifts for this girl. So Deonte's bought her iPhones and earpods, watches and jewellery. And he also has $1,000 in cash for her. His friend Eric is none too impressed. And he says, you went and bought yourself a white woman. And Deonte lets us know that she's never been out with a black guy before. Oh Deonte, she's not going out with one now. You're just a bloody mark. And just for the record, he hasn't bought himself a white woman. How dare you? He's rented one. She's certainly not his. Oh dear, Deonte's in for a very, very rude awakening. But guys, all of this pales into insignificance when I describe the nastiness that I have just noticed. This guy's got some sort of sex doll. It's small, it's like, I don't know, about 12 inches long maybe. His nickname said sex doll, Baby Nicole. And he doesn't want to cheat on his wife-to-be, so that's why he's been using it. He takes it from under his bed and he said, I have no more use for you. And he goes over to the dishwasher, puts it in with plates and dishes, and washes it through the dishwasher. Oh my god! It's so awful. He's washing his sex toys in with the cutlery and the crockery. It's simply disgusting. He's going to have a spermy spoon. Ew! If she wasn't going to break up with him before, she will after she sees this. But we continue. The next couple I want to talk about is Britney and Ray. And Britney's a healthcare advocate and Ray is a felon. He's in prison for 3 years for possession of narcotics with intent to deliver. And Britney tells us she's upper middle class. And she further says all of her friends think she's bougie. She met her intended Ray, where else? On social media. And he said, hi, how you doing? I'm a little locked down right now. And it took her a little while to realise, not just with COVID, but he was in fact in prison. So we see Britney and she's shopping with her friends for something sexy to wear for when Ray gets out of prison. But the main problem with Britney is going to be her family. Apparently they know nothing of her 9-month relationship and she's very worried as to what they're going to say. They're not the kind of family that would put up with a felon. How does she know? Well, her last boyfriend was a felon. She was in an abusive relationship, she called the police, and he ended up incarcerated. And guys, both of her friends seem kind of on the side of her family, and they say, when are you going to tell them? And Britney says, I'm going to tell them really soon because I want to get married as soon as possible. Britney, you've known him 9 months. You literally know nothing about him. You can't tell your parents about him yet because you don't even know. Also, what's the point of saying anything before he comes out and before you get to know him? All you'll do is manage to wind them right up for someone who may even turn out not to be the one. And Britney finished off by saying her mother will be traumatised if she doesn't bring home a lawyer. Well, instead I suppose you're bringing home a liar. And that's probably about as good as mum is gonna get. And guys, I can't wait to see this guy and to see how he actually behaves now he has his freedom. I've got a feeling he's gonna be an F-boy extraordinaire, but only time will tell. And on to our next couple, and they are Rachel and Doug. And I've got to tell you, I do not know what to make of this story. This is the most unbelievable situation to me. Rachel was a Marine for 4 years, and she's super law-abiding, but she tells us she's attracted to bad boys. And so Doug is inside for felony firearms offences. But she's used to all of that. It's her 3rd convict in a row. She thinks 3rd time a charm. And gorgeous Doug is 6'5" and is covered head to toe in tattoos. And Rachel tells us he's like a giant teddy bear. But then we're very quickly reminded he's doing 11 years for firearms offences. 4 months ago, she married him in prison. She's never been intimate with him, as there are no conjugal visits in the state of Michigan. And her friends think she's absolutely crazy, and she's at her apartment talking to them and showing them all of the food and everything she's prepared for his homecoming. But the most unbelievable thing is, his son, Doug Jr., who's just 12 years of age, 3 months ago went to live with Rachel. So Doug has put his son with somebody who he's met whilst he's in prison. He doesn't know her. This tells me right off the bat, his decision making hasn't gotten any better since he was walking around Michigan with firearms. And she says she's getting on okay with his son, but she said it's a complete lifestyle change for her, mainly because she was a single gal before and now she's in every evening babysitting. Her friends are unimpressed and they think it's going to turn out to be a shit show. And so they're all sitting in her living room and she decides to call Doug. He asks her if she's called the parole officer and she said not yet. And he said, you're slacking. Do you need me to start barking orders again? Oh, Doug, it sounds like you've already started. And then he starts talking about Doug Jr. And he said to her, don't baby him, don't coddle him, otherwise he's always going to demand that. And then she said to him, can we talk about Doug Jr.? He won't come out of his room. And his dad actually said, well, you're babying him and you're coddling him. Whilst you do that, he'll always carry on the way he is. You need to show him who's boss. And she laughed a stupid simpering laugh. Certainly not the laugh of a Marine. And certainly not the laugh of an engineer. And she said, okay, love you, bye. So guys, let's get this straight. You send your son to live with a random woman that you met online and have only met a few times in person. You send him to live with her full time from her never knowing him previously. And you think he's just being a big baby because he doesn't want to come out of his room. It is not a normal situation to put a child into. And as we know, with time comes great clarity. But I need no time at all to ascertain that this guy is a fucking idiot. Rachel tells us, oh, he likes to bark orders. He's just flexing. And I can't wait till he comes out of prison so I can roast him. Moving on. Our next couple. Who do we have here? We have Courtney and Josh. Oh, right, yes, Courtney. Oh, dear. Courtney seems like she might be, I don't know, missing a chromosome or two. To say the least, she's not the brightest spark. So in short, Courtney was a prison officer and she met Josh on the job. On the job being the operative phrase because she ended up being fired for having an affair with him. So Josh is inside for burglary and attempted assault. And guys, let me know what you think in comments down below. Attempted assault, what do we think that means? How can you prove that someone attempted to assault somebody? Interesting. That actually to me poses more questions than it gives answers. So back to Courtney, she's in her apartment and she tells us she's 30 years old and she's on her 3rd marriage. And all I've got to say to that is, Courtney, you've got billions of brain cells, try using one once in a while. So how exactly did Courtney and Josh end up in this relationship? She said she was searching Josh's cell one day and she found his diary. She then decided to violate his rights by reading the diary. And then she worked out what to say so she could pull him. Courtney, my love, you're actually punching with Josh. He's not actually that bad looking. And I feel like she needed the inside scoop to land that one. And she tells us she used to go and visit him by getting into prison by wearing different wigs. She went 8 times before she got caught. What? 8 times? No wonder these prisons are full of bloody drugs. It doesn't exactly sound as if there's watertight security. Anyway, she said she knew she'd done wrong, but she thought that this whole not having relationship with prisoners thing was more of an advisement rather than an illegal act, and a felony as it turned out to be. So Courtney went from one side of the bars to the other. She got 2 months in prison and 2 years probation. I mean, guys, when I was listening to this story, I did think, wow, that's pretty harsh. But I can't believe she didn't realise it was the law. Courtney, you worked there, you numbskull. Even if you didn't know when you worked there, once you started donning wigs to go and secretly see him, didn't you think, let me look into this to find out what happens if I get caught? Guys, this girl really is a dimwit, she just is. Anyway, they're still together, they ended up getting married, it was a double proxy wedding. So in other words, neither one of them bothered to turn up, they both had stand-ins, and nothing says long-term marriage, nothing says lifelong union, like 2 stand-ins at the ceremony. Oh Lord, you could not make it up. And now Courtney's off to see her lawyer to find out if there's going to be any problem in living with her husband when he gets out of prison. Courtney, of course there is. You're on bloody probation and so is he. Do you think 2 people on probation are allowed to be together? I don't think so. I really don't. But guys, I guess time will tell. And so next we come to Stan and Lisa. Stan is 65, guys, so he says. I'd say, and the rest, Stan, and the rest. He looks like they dug him up this morning. He's got a few years on him, to say the very least. 65, you say? You must have had a paper round when you were a kid. In the wind and rain, and uphill both ways. Oh, Stanley, a lie you a tell. So he's standing around and boasting to the other options. And so Stanley's doing Little League practice with 2 of his chums. And he boasts to the other octogenarians that he's had 125 dates since his wife passed away. Stanley, you want to be careful. Dates are full of sugar. You'll rot your teeth. What am I talking about? They're not real. Oh Lord. He lets us know his approximate wealth is 2.3 million. Stan, my advice to you is to pull all 2.3 million of it out of the ATM and stack it up in piles. That way when you tell people you're 65, they'll never know, for they won't be able to see you. And that, to my mind, is pretty much the only way you'll get away with this whole 65 tale. And his beloved Lisa, well, she's quite a bit younger than him. She's just 39. And Stan tells his baseball buddies that they met online on Seeking Arrangement. And so for any of you who don't know, Seeking Arrangement is some kind of sugar daddy website. And in fact, let me go online and have a quick look. Yes, I can see here 4 sugar babies per sugar daddy. Date from the world's largest pool of eligible bachelors and sugar daddies. So you're basically proposing to go out on dates with someone who wants to put them paws on your cash. Well, I suppose you can't take it with you, can you, Stan? And so he explains when he first met her on date number 1, they had some red wine and then they had sex. And they had a couple more successful dates and suddenly she vanished without trace. But soon enough she resurfaced. Why? She needed help. She'd been nicked for dealing drugs and was in the local correctional facility. And ever since, she and Stan have been dating, and he tells his friends he's in love with her. So he shows loads of pictures and she's blonde and she's thin and she's okay looking, she scrubs up quite well. But all his friends seem to love her. They're like, oh yeah, oh yeah. And they really can't get enough. They're literally like a pair of aging Labradors slobbering over the smartphone. And then she calls. She tells him she needs makeup and clothes and accessories and she's going to put a big dent in his pocket. And he smiles and says, that's absolutely fine, baby. But the 2 old goats want to get in on the act as well. Hi, I'm Jim. I'm looking forward to meeting you. I'm Dash and I am Till. Jim, Dash. Unless you've got cash, then you ain't got nothing for her. And she tells him she doesn't look quite as good as she used to before she went into prison. And his face literally drained. He said, well, you can't look that bad, you're too pretty. And she said, well, it's what's on the inside that counts, right? And he went, yeah, I guess. Of course it isn't. It's what's on the outside that counts, you fool. Everybody knows that. You're seeking an arrangement. His money and your looks. You've got to keep up your end of the bargain. And then one of the old goats tells producers, the thing I'm really worried about, the thing I've got real grave concerns about is, I think she might be treating him as some sort of sugar daddy. Well, I should certainly hope so. And if she isn't, I for one will want to know the reason why. They met on Seeking Arrangements. That's where sugar babies meet sugar daddies. So yeah, that's exactly what she's doing. Don't be concerned, he's doing it too. And once again, we have this old and boring narrative of the gold-digging woman, and all the man wants is someone fit, young, up for sex, and happy to do what he says. And that part of it's absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just the gold digging. That's what's so awful. But I have got to say, there are a couple of things that are concerning for Stan. I think the first thing is his haircut. Stan, I'm going to need you to take off whatever dead animal is on your head and put it in the bin. You look ridiculous. And the second thing that concerns me is you do not just get put into prison on a whim. It takes months to go through court and for you to be found guilty and for you to actually go away. And so it's highly likely that she'd already done whatever crime she'd done, had a collar felt, and then she thought, idea, let me reel in a few old goats on seeking arrangements, sleep with them immediately, and then I can make good. And then I can make good my leave with their hearts and their cash. And that's a really good way of her making money whilst she's away and getting on her feet when she comes out. And another thing that leads me to that conclusion is the fact that she disappeared and he didn't hear from her for ages and ages. Well, I would have thought that within maybe, 1 week of going into prison, you're eligible for a phone call, so she could have called him right away. She chose not to. Why? I can tell you why. Because she had somebody else on the fishing hook, I think. But when that obviously crumbled, Stan was next in line. That's my theory and I guess we'll just see. But I think there's going to be more than just Stan keeping Lisa in clothes, makeup and accessories. So guys, that's the end of part 1. So let me know what you think to these couples. Which is your favourite? Who do you think isn't going to last? Who do you think is going to get mugged off? I wasn't going to say any names, but come through Deonte, come through. And what do we think of the situation with little Doug Jr.? I think that's going to be one of the most interesting storylines this season. I hope it all works out for him. At this point, I don't care about either of the adults. I just want things to work out for him. So let me know what you think in comments down below, and I will be back with part 2 of this review. Just before I go, a massive thank you to everyone who's supported me during this channel. And you finally pushed me into making the bold move into doing another TV show. And I thank you for your suggestions and your support. If you haven't done so yet, please consider subscribing. Make Ebird a happy Ebird. And also, if you've enjoyed the first part of this Love After Lockup review, please press the like button so I can see, is it worth me continuing to review this show? I think I will anyway, because I'm kind of a little bit invested now I've done the first review. So yeah, let me know what you think. Like, subscribe, all of that good stuff, and I will see you very soon. You've been listening to Ebird Online. Ciao for now.